Okay, that's my cue. Karen, thank you so much for that would stress me out. I don't know. I could chair and do any AA meeting in person, but if someone's like, do this thing on Zoom, I'd be like, there's too much clicking. I don't know how to share things. It gets complicated. And I'm uh 38 years old and it's a lot for me. So that was great. I'm already overwhelmed watching you do that. So I'm also gonna want to definitely thank Stephen. I got to speak with Stephen not too long ago when he asked me to do this. I know it was his 41st wedding anniversary, and he was like, "I'm so sorry I won't be there." I was like, "I'm pretty sure you definitely don't need to be there." Um, I think your wife would not want you to be there, and I don't even want you there because I don't. You need to be with your wife. So we agreed on that, and he's been in my prayers, and I just thank him and everyone else here for asking me and inviting me to be here. Um, and I'm gonna go and say it. I feel like I need to say it. Zoom is not my realm. Y'all are like way more tech savvy than me, like tenfold. Um, and I think it's awesome and it's great. And I'm always uncomfortable sharing on Zoom because it's like I can't hear you. Like I'm like, "Ugh." Like so I'm always like, so if I just get like really uncomfortable out of nowhere, it's I'm just gonna preface that a lot of times with the Zoom meetings, I'm always like, I get like, oh yeah, that's right. We're not even like in person, but I'm talking. So sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself, but and try to look at y'all and just share my experience, strength, and hope with you guys. So I guess I could start doing that. Let's see. I just right before this call, I was meeting for someone for step work. I had about 15 minutes for to hop on here and um I call my grandma. Today is my grandma's 90th birthday. And I'm just so excited. And she was telling me, she was like, because I'm gonna go there this weekend because she's having a freaking birthday party. And I'm like, Randy, I can't wait to go to a 90-year-old birthday party because we're gonna party. And we're having fun. She's telling me all these cool stories. She didn't think she lived this long. I'm like, dude, your dad lived to like 100 and something. I think the genetics are there. Um, and this is in the non-alcoholic side of the family. We don't do that well on the other side, but and she said, she was, I just didn't expect my life to turn out so cool. And she was just telling me how grateful she was to have great children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. Um, and I was sitting there listening to her telling me all these stories and how grateful she is, and she's gonna move to a new like care home or some shit like that. And I was just sitting there, I was like, man, it's really, really neat talking to people who are grateful. And one cool thing about recovery is we are some of the most grateful bunch of folks you'd ever meet. You don't meet folks that will call you and have their life burning down and then say, but you know what? I'm grateful because at least I'm sober today. At least I'm alive. At least I'm out of jail. And it was funny. I was listening to her and I knew I didn't tell her I was coming to do this. Like, she doesn't understand all that. But I was just sitting there. The only times I ever hear someone talk about how grateful they are really are people that are older with some wisdom in life and addicts and alcoholics who are connected to a conscious relationship with their creator. Even in the midst of things going down, I find it miraculous every time. I'm always just like blown away by it. And then like little kids, because I mean, who is not grateful for ice cream all you know what I mean? Like it's like new experiences. So in that vein about just being grateful, I'm sure that's going to be a theme, but there's this part on page 58. It says our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. And I read that for a long time, and like, well, actually, I didn't read that for about 6 years. I said it how I thought it was supposed to. I just said, I'm going to share with you what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like now. And then I worked the steps with this guy who a lot more experience than me, and he said, Lindsey, if you ever share your story, please share what you used to be like. And that's the state of being to which you cannot differentiate the true from the false. What happened, my experience within the steps and the program of recovery, and then what I'm like now. So that's my intention, is to hopefully share that with you. And so just start real quick. I'm gonna just kind of let it rip here. My name is Lindsey. I'm an alcoholic. Things are out of order because I'm on Zoom. Anyways, so Lindsey, alcoholic. I do live in Atlanta, Georgia. I live in the city. I'm from originally North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina. I moved around a little bit when I was drinking, but I got sober in Atlanta and I've been here ever since. My sobriety date is April 23rd, 2007. So I'm really grateful for that date. It's also interesting because I did not choose that date. In fact, any date I chose prior to getting sober, never got sober. So God picked the date. So it's really cool. He's that power grade myself is always really doing things that I cannot do for myself. I can't even pick my sobriety date right. So that had to be done for me, and it was. And that's what's really crazy, is because I didn't expect to get sober on that date. And like I said, any other dates that I had tried and had my plans didn't work. And I think that's what's fascinating about my experience with alcoholism, is that I didn't understand it, obviously. I thought I did for a long time, and I did. I got sober younger. And I don't know if anybody here got sober. I got sober at 21 years old. And I'd been waiting my whole life to make it to 21 to be legal, only to get sober afterwards. And that's a really strange situation. But what's really weird is I look back, because when I got sober, I was 21, but man, I felt like I was old as shit. I just got drug around for a while. So I didn't see that coming. I was really grateful, because anytime I tried, it didn't work. And I was so confused on alcoholism, because it runs in my family, pretty gnarly. And it, it just never occurred to me why I couldn't control it. And I'm gonna hop right into it, because with to me, the physical allergy aspect of alcoholism was something. When someone sat down and explained the physical allergy, right, which is just like the phenomenon of craving, which is basically I have no say once it goes in what's going to happen. That's basically what it is. And when I was explained to me, I had never been more like, oh my God. I was actually kind of relieved, because some of the things that I would do that I had no intention of doing, and that's why it was terrifying for someone like me, because I did care. I'm not one of those who you know was just like, I'm gonna party and never no, I did that for a while until I was 18. I had a bunch of consequences. I don't know if y'all can tell, but even me today at 17 years sober, when I walk down the street, people still asking if we're going to get messed up. I still have an energy of like, I party. So drugs, I just never had any. It never occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to get it together when I wanted to. And so understanding that the allergy that was, once it went in, I had no say, was actually relieving for someone like me. I was like, oh, thank God, because for a minute there, I was thinking that something was really wrong. Let's be real. Alcoholism's really nasty and devastating and deadly. But I really thought something was really, really wrong. And I also had no idea what alcohol was doing for me. So in short, to get right up, I'm not going to tell you about like, oh, my childhood, that just is what it is. But I can tell you about what happened the first time I felt the effect of alcohol that had on me, which growing up, I am one of those that 100% felt a little separate. People around me, no problems, but something was always a little off. I was always separate. I could be in a group of people, never felt in. I'm definitely one of those. And I didn't know that when the first time that I experienced the effects produced by alcohol, I didn't know what it was doing. I mean, for me, it was just like, I'm definitely have arrived. I did have that experience. I am the person who did chase that crap to a lot of degrees. And I did that through high school, and it was what it was. I got in trouble, blah, blah, blah. When I was 18, though, when I graduated, I got my first pulled over drinking and driving. And I was like, man, I'm gonna clean this up. I gotta go. I moved to West Virginia to go to school. Um, and I stayed sober for a little bit. And that was all good and fine. And it didn't take too long. But I remember after those 3 months, when I drank again, I remember everything about it, just like I remember everything about the first time I drank, which I think is crazy. Like, my sister can't tell me this crazy story with the first time she drank and all this crazy, like to the nth degree, because it doesn't mean that much. Like, she can tell me a lot about her children, about graduating college. And I'm like, what is anything else? But I know the relationship I had with alcohol was something profound. And I didn't know how profound until, honestly, till I kind of was getting sober. Because the only thing I knew before then was like the consequences. So, I think the most, I kind of want to, this is important to me. The first step's important to me. I'm like a real big first step person because I just spent so much time so confused by it. Um, and I am one of those, like my parents did this little cutoff situation when I was 18, when I drank again at 18, right? And started using again. And they're like, we ain't doing this. And good for them, right? Fair enough. And I wasn't even that upset about it. I was like, okay, like, okay. And the crazy thing is that later on, I got in even more trouble, went deeper down the path. All right, y'all feel me, so I packed some more stuff on there. And then I get real bad off and I call them for help. I was like, I need some help. And they're like, oh, thank goodness, Chica, let's help. What you need? Like, you want to go to treatment? Like, what do you want? And I was like, oh, that's a bit dramatic. We don't need all that. Definitely don't need any help with treatment, because I really did believe that if I got the right meds with the right shrink, the right things from that I would be okay. I really didn't think it had anything to do with my drinking and using. I really believed that if I wasn't so depressed, then I wouldn't drink the amounts that I did. I really believe that. So of course that plan didn't work. And then I got kicked out of where I was staying. All these things happened. And consequences, and ended up moving back in with my folks, and they were great. They're like, hey, you gonna do this? No problem. But you gotta get a job. You need to get one of those. And you can't be doing all this bullshit you're doing. I was like, fair enough. That's like a fair deal. And I was all about it. I'm like, let's go. I'm going to get back into school because I was kicked out of school. I'm going to do my jam. And I got my therapist. Really did it this time. This time was like for real, quit drinking and do my therapist. That didn't work. Shocker, guys, because I don't know what I don't know. And my full intention was to get my shit together. I am one of those who's in a perpetual state of getting their shit together. And I'm also one of those who's in a perpetual state of, look at me getting better. But like, I don't know that I'm not. I think I am. I don't know that I'm getting worse because I'm not drinking and using. Like, I don't know that until the day comes. So, example of the allergy, which is, man, I have so many of these stories, but I was enrolled in the like third time's a charm, maybe, but not for someone like me, not even sober, but I'm not a school person. But anyways, third time's a charm. I'm in. I got a job. I'm about to do the thing. All right, I put my stuff online for this too, and I'm all about it, going to my classes, doing my thing, staying on my commitment with not drinking at certain times in certain ways, taking certain pills, the whole thing. And it's crazy because I had a plan every Wednesday, this night class, and I had a break in between, like 2 hours before the class, 2 or 3 hours, some chunk, way too long of time for me. It can't be keeping me like just there that long. I'd go to the bar across the street on campus, which I would never drink there unless I was like having to go to this class. And then every Wednesday I'd go in there thinking I was going to have a few and then go to class. And then I'll be damned. What would happen is I would start drinking and then be like, all right, I gotta leave in about, 10 minutes, gonna tab out. And then this crazy thing would happen. I'd be like, well, I'll just be like 15, 20 minutes late. And nobody know about 15, 20 minutes late. Nobody gets upset about that. So I drink, and then the mind goes, well, you know what, just go on the break. I mean, it's a long class. So just go on the break. Yeah. So I keep drinking. And then it's like, well, you know what? You know what? I'll just tell them that I had car trouble and I'll do my work over the week and I'll be there next week. And the crazy thing is, it's not that I did that. The crazy thing is I did that for a whole semester and only made like 1.5 classes, but I was at the same bar every night doing the same thing with the same thinking. Because once alcohol enters someone like my body, it doesn't matter that I want to do these things. Alcohol takes over and I can't do these things. Like I'm not making the calls. It looks like I'm making the calls. Like, oh, I'll just go in the break. I'll just do this. It's like a mechanical arm situation. Like I would not want to tear my life down over and over again. I wouldn't want to do all this, but I do that. That's what I do. And I got stories like that for days. And you know, let's just say I totaled the third car with someone in it. This was, my like right before I got sober. This was at the end of the thing. I remember everything about that day. Um, and I had all these promises and I broke all of them. I totaled the third car, the first two. That's another thing is I'm not an idiot. Like I know not to drink and drive. I know not to do this stuff. I've been in trouble for it before. Wasn't this first time. I had already wrecked a car with someone in and busted their teeth out. You know what I mean? When I was getting high. So it's not like this was oh, I didn't know. I know better. And I still do things that I know better not to do because when alcohol and drugs enter my body, it takes over. Like I don't have a real say in it. And so when that happened, something in me, it was the greatest gift. That's what hopefully I can share is something came over me with, I knew it was the first time that I knew that it was my drinking. And and every cell fiber being in my body knew that if I drank again, I'd die or kill someone else. Cause I've been trying to do this. Like when Bill says quicksand stretched around, I'm talking like I'm moving real fast for many years since I was a kid. It felt like, and man, I wasn't going anywhere. I just wasn't getting anywhere. I just kept sinking no matter how bad I tried. So, I'm so grateful. My folks were like, um, what's going on? I was like, man, I need some real help. And this is alcoholism in its finest. I'm terrified. I'm desperate. And I go ask for help myself. And then they get me in touch with a treatment person. The treatment person was like, yeah, I feel you. It's not a good sitch. We're going to get you in somewhere, but we suggest you go to Atlanta, Georgia to go to sober living. And you know what I said to this person? I said, oh, I can't go to Atlanta because I have a job, I've got school, and my friends and family. Now, y'all keep in mind, I got fired from my job before this. Did it sound like I was doing well in school for the classes that I never went to? Not to mention the interventions that I had from family and friends I didn't even tell you about. In other words, that's the delusion that I suffer from right there. That's a big old chunk of it, is that I could be desperate and be like, I need all this help. And then someone gives it to me and I say, no, not like that. Or I don't have it like that. Or I think I have a fucking job. Oh, excuse me. I think I have a job. I am not employed. So this is a delusional person. Fortunately, this treatment person was like, serious black belt in like addict, alcoholic delusion land. He was like, and I finally was like, okay, man, I'll do it. I'll give you 30 days, 60 days, whatever it was. And I went with a trash bag after detox. And here I am in Atlanta. And this crazy thing happened. It's because I have alcoholism. I still don't know what I have. So, I'm there. I'm really grateful to be there, strangely enough. And this thing was happening where I was really strange because, like, I really wanted to be there and I wanted to be sober. I was really grateful for the people around me, counselors, AA meetings, all the stuff. I was really grateful, but everyone also drove me nuts. Like I also was irritated with everyone. It was a really strange thing. I'm like, I'm really grateful for you, but like you really annoy the crap out of me. And I wanted to stay sober real bad, but everything in me wanted to drink as well. And I just didn't know how to say anything, because I felt like everyone in the rooms was, happy, joyous, and free, and they're all grateful to be sober. And I'm like, if I tell y'all that I want to drink, you might kick me out. And I don't have anywhere else to go. And you might kick me out. I was also really young. um, and I didn't know what was building up inside of me. I had no idea that I could tell y'all that, but I didn't tell anybody that. And it just kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And then I was doing this, and I didn't tell anybody this story until I had like 3 years sober, because I was so embarrassed by it. Because I didn't know what I suffered from. I didn't know when you take drugs and alcohol away from me that it's going to be really hard for me, because alcohol really did treat what was within me. When I took that drink, that first drink, what it did was relieve me of the bondage of self, and I didn't know it. So now it's away from me the first time in a very long time, and I got bondage of self strapped tight, and I have no way of doing this. I have no idea what to do. I just know that at night in my halfway house, I'd get up by myself in the middle of the night. Of course, I couldn't sleep well. And I would go out into the kitchen, and I'd get a boom box, pack of cigarettes, and I'd get a little cup, and then I'd get apple juice, and I'd put on really depressing music, and I would chain smoke, and I'd sip this apple juice, just pretending it was liquor. I was a whiskey drinker. I was just pretending this was whiskey. And I had no idea how to share this kind of bizarre situation I'm in, where everything in me wants to get drunk and nothing in me wants to drink. It's a cold spot. Our book talks about it. And I'm so grateful, because there's someone I met that was properly armed with the facts about himself. I finally spoke up a little bit and mentioned this to him. And he said, and he put words on things I didn't know anybody felt like me. I didn't know anybody drank like me. And even though I heard things in meeting, this was just someone that I saw that was armed. And then I was like, oh my God, like maybe I'm not alone, because just going into I'd hear these stories, but I was like, man, like, I don't think anybody feels like I do right now. Like, everyone's just grateful to be sober. I don't know, like, I'm grateful, but I don't know, gratitude shouldn't feel like this, like, shouldn't it feel good? I don't know if I feel good. And I didn't know how to say anything when I was new. I had no way to articulate anything going on. So I'm so grateful for this guy to put language to what I was going through. And so basically he sat down and took me through the book. And and to be honest, at the beginning, I was like, what the heck's up with this guy? He's going to pick me up, drive 40 minutes to just like take me to a Starbucks and like buy my coffee. What is this? Yeah, just because that's just what people do. That was strange in and of itself. But he's sitting there, and I'm telling him this other aspect of this first step is, we got into the book, we're going through it. I'm like getting lit up, y'all, for real. I was actually I was starting to be like, oh my God. And we get to the part about lack of choice, and I I told him how desperate I was. I was willing to do anything, and that's the damn truth. I really was. And he just said, Linz, I believe you, and I know you're desperate. I know you're scared. I know you're willing. But you'll still drink again. And I argued with him. I was like, nah, man, like, this time is for real. Those other times, not real. And I really believed that the reason I was unsuccessful in my previous attempts was because I didn't want it badly enough. And he kept challenging me on this. And he was like, really? Because you didn't want it badly enough. And then he kept asking me questions. And I was like, well, obviously, if I wanted it badly enough, I wouldn't have drank again. And then he said, oh, did you want to get cut off from your family again? Did you want to embarrass yourself and everyone at that reunion? Did you want to get kicked out of the third college? Did you want to get fired from a job you enjoy? And it blew my mind. It blew my mind, because I knew it was true. That was my experience. It didn't matter how much I wanted it, how much I needed it. I always drank again. And I believed him. And that's the damn truth. I believed that I would drink again. I believed in this disease called alcoholism. And it's not, I didn't drink again because I didn't want it badly enough. I drank again because I just had no solution. Which was someone to guide me through to get a relationship with a power greater than myself. That's why. It's because I have alcoholism. Of course, I drank again. I always will without a solution because holy smokes, the bondage of self for someone like me is tight, man. I'm talking, it gets around my necks. Yo, it's cold, clogs your arteries, knocks your heart out, the whole thing. And that's the whole point of these steps is to wake the spirit up because that is what alcohol did for me. First time I drank, it relieved me of the bondage of self. And I was the first time I could connect to y'all. First time I could kind of be okay with me. Now it did turn its head on me and you know, got me into shackles and I became its master. But at the beginning, it relieved me from the bondage of self. Like Bill talks about that boomerang. It was that boomerang, the thing that set me free, came back to cut me to ribbons. It chained me. So I needed something to relieve me of the bondage of self. And I was hurting just like all y'all were. And so that was my first, that's what really set me up. I mean, at that point, once really going down there and someone properly on with the facts about themselves in this book, man, I'm not, y'all, I am a gay woman raised in the South, right? Nothing about that screams very godly or inviting to that. I am like, I was very, very new, thank you there. And I tell you, for someone who is really hard to get their head around that, you know, it was never hard for me was I didn't believe a whole lot in the God thing, but I 100% believed in what I suffered from. I believed in alcoholism and I believed that I needed to do everything that was instructed of me to do here. And by the grace of God, I did. And that set myself up for a real strong relationship with God because that was the first one I had. It was not flimsy at that point. I mean, that was like, yo, I believe in what I suffer from. Therefore, I'm going to do all these things you tell me to do. And it was freaking terrifying. And so I did, man. I was the person that would, you know, I mean, I did as many meetings I could. I listened to Joe Charlie on the headphones. I just went all freaking alcoholic on this shit, to be honest. And I had no idea. I had no idea that what was going to happen. And I can honestly say probably the craziest thing is, you know, even in the steps where it says sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Y'all, someone like me was so riddled and driven by fear and self and all that mess. And not like I'm still, of course, I have those things today. But I tell you, I was able to, I've always had knowledge, and this is my experience with a lot. I mean, I sponsor a lot of women. I do. I have an H&I commitment. I've got a home group. I got the whole kit caboodle. We do the circle triangle here, right? So I've always had knowledge of God's will in my heart. And anybody I've worked with has always had that. What I never had, and most of the time what they don't have, is the power to carry it out. I've always known the right thing to do. I always know you shouldn't lie. I should be honest. But it's so scary for someone that's driven and gripped by so much fear and self. And so the steps have just absolutely transformed my life. I can say, I'll tell you this story. As powerful as like inventory, super dope, obviously. And of course, the fifth step, enlightening, but the amends is crazy, right? The amends is wild. And I've made so many cool amends, you know. Um, and you would think it would, you know, even with all the, I've like really these like bizarre amends stories, but the craziest ones to me are the ones that are closest to home, you know, the ones that, man, you got to live it out. You know, the amends for me really is like, you know, the approach is when I go talk to someone, the amends is everything after that conversation, you know. And so me and my dad, or my family, yo, I didn't have, it took about 5 years for my dad to be sober, for my dad to be like, all right, what's up? we're gonna hang out now. I did a lot of damage, just like a lot of us do. And one of my biggest things, I'd write inventory of the years, is that I just really wanted my folks and people to love me as I am. I'm a gay person. I'm not included in my family. I'm gonna get disowned and, all these things. And, and I was so scared, I was so scared and I didn't know what I was going to do. I wrote so much inventory on it. And I was like, okay, well, it's pretty clear. If I want, these things, and this is something that's important to me, well, all right, God will give me the strength and courage and guidance to love my folks just as they are, period. Whatever their beliefs are, whatever the disagreements are, same with my sister, same with anybody I encounter. Is it possible that I can love them just as they are, period? Just no extra hoopla, no conditions to me, none of this, unless like, you're like going to hurt me. Oh, anyways, y'all get the point. And, all these things kind of built up, I practiced and practiced and practiced and it just might, between that sponsorship, all of the principles outlined, 10 and 11, the whole 9 yards, man, I was shifting. I mean, I got in a long-term relationship. That doesn't happen for me. I'm like fucking married. That's crazy. And what's really crazy is that, alcoholism is the lie, even when I told you at the beginning, like I suffer from this delusional thing, right? And I'm delusional. Like I just believe lies, even the lie that it's not going to hurt me. I know what you're thinking. I know what to do. I know that, all of this stuff. I'd never had much inquiry. And then it all came full circle, like, a few years ago, everything in my life fell apart, a bunch of crap fell apart. Everyone here is going to go through that. And the gift of recovery is not that it won't happen. It's that I can be here when it does. And that's just the damn truth. It hurts like hell. But I finally just, God gave me this courage one day and it just broke through. And I said, I'm gonna call my dad. I called my dad and I asked him straight up. I was like, hey man, I just need to know you love me just as I am, gay, the whole 9 yards, I'm gay, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I've always loved you just as you are. And he said all these other really cool, powerful things. And this is an old Southern man. It's really spooky. I see some of y'all on here too. And what's really crazy is that I believed that lie for a long time because I was really scared to investigate it. Along with every other lie, the 12 steps have enabled me to challenge, to get closer to my relationship with myself and God and others, to repair and build and grow with people. I'm insanely passionate about families and about people getting well. It's changed the dynamic of my father and I. It's changed the dynamic of my whole entire family, even my wife, my cousins, right? And it's all as a result of the 12 steps in my relationship with God, period, blank, end of story, can't debate it. And there's this part in the book where it says we've entered the world of the spirit. It's in our 10th step. And in the spirit world, I mean, everyone like been on my mind, like, what does that mean? And in my wedding vows that I did like a year and a half ago, it's it's kind of like this. Like I'm gonna show up to y'all, to my creator, what I've learned about my relationship with God through the steps of the third step, the inventory process, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. All of it has to do with, we're going to connect in this fourth dimension, right? And the world of spirit for me is, I, in the world before 3D, would show up and only show y'all my hearts and my diamonds. These are the shiny things. These are easy to share. I didn't know how to share the clubs and the spades, the things that I'm embarrassed of, that I'm scared of, that I think you're going to reject me for, the things that separate from me from you. Because at the end of the day, all of my illness is rooted in isolation and conscious separation. So for me, internal spirit is playing with a full deck. You cannot win a card game on freaking hearts and diamonds. You got to have them all. So for me, showing up with anybody in my life means you're here I am. I'm going to tell you when I'm scared. I'm going to be as truthful as I possibly can be. I'm going to tell you when I'm embarrassed. I'm going to tell you when I don't know. I'm going to share if I can help. I'm going to only share on things I've experienced with, all the nooks and crannies, the dark stuff, all that stuff. I'm here to share with you guys and play with the full deck, even because that's the only deck I can play with God. He's got to know it all. You gotta know, you gotta see me. I can't show up any other way. And the 12 steps have literally relieved me of the bondage of self. My spirit is awakened as a result of the steps, and all the people and all the friends around me who have been my teachers. And that includes anyone I've ever had the pleasure of sponsoring. I don't care if they stuck around for 3 days or many, 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 many years. Thank you for all being my teachers. And I'm really grateful for anyone that's willing to be a student. And I'm really, really grateful. And the only thing is that if someone hasn't had an experience, it's as simple as like read the book with someone. Anytime it says pray, pray. Anytime it says write, write, and have some fun. And if I can be helpful to anyone in any way, please let me know. And I appreciate y'all listening to me pretty much kind of talk to myself with y'all in virtual computer land with no comments. It's a little weird, but I'm down for it. And if anyone's in Atlanta, let me know. I got a home group and meetings and all that kind of fun stuff. So thank you guys.